In this video, we will discuss about Plato's theory of education. His theory of education is linked to the theory of justice, as in a just state, everyone has to perform the task according to the natural abilities or the spiritual qualities of the soul. To find the spiritual quality of the soul, Plato devised a system of education. In his system of education, there is a principle of filtration. Rousseau considered Republic as the best book ever written in the field of education. According to Rousseau, it is the most comprehensive idea on education, as in this book, Plato has dealt with theoretical, practical, mental, moral, and spiritual dimensions of soul. Plato has observed the system of education in Sparta, and he has combined the good features of education in Sparta. As in Sparta, there was state-led education. According to Plato, most important function of state is to educate its citizens. In Sparta, there was no discrimination on the basis of sex, and even women were having the opportunity of education. In Athens, education was in private hands, as sophists were charging money. Though in Athens there was emphasis on development, critical thinking, and the focus was on mathematics, philosophy, and dialectics, so Plato tried to incorporate the best of both. Here, best of both means of Athens as well as of Sparta, and he gave his theme of education. So now let's discuss Plato's theme of education. So education should be state sponsored and state controlled, as according to him, state is essentially pedagogic, which means imparting education is one of the most important function of the state. According to Plato, there should be no discrimination against women. Plato believed that education has to be a lifelong experience, and he has emphasized on both theoretical and practical education. The objective of his scheme of education was to find a philosopher king through his theory of education. Now we will discuss the stages in theme of education. So primary education, secondary education, and higher education. These are the three main stages. In primary education, in first 6 years, in which emphasis is given on moral stories for character building, music for mental development, and physical exercises for physical development. In secondary education, it is from 6 to 20 years. In this, all the general subjects are taught and including military education. And after 20 years, first filtration test occurs, and all those who will pass the test will show the capacity to study further and should be promoted for higher education, and the rest should join the producer class. In higher education, those who pass the test will go for higher education, and the first stage will be from 20 to 30 years, and there is a need to increase the difficulty level of the subject, and focus should be on geometry and literature. At 30 years, there should be a second filtration test, and those who will pass the test will be promoted further, and rest should become soldier class. Now comes stage 2 of higher education. So it is from 30 to 35 years. In this stage, dialectics have to be taught, and in stage 3 of the higher education, that is from 35 to 50 years, 50 years of further learning and practical training should be given, and thus at the age of 50, person is eligible to become ruler. And in this process, many philosophers will emerge. So according to Plato, philosopher has no lust for power, and he only has the love for knowledge. That's why philosophers will be reluctant to rule, and people will request them to accept the duty as part of obligation towards the state. Philosophers are sacrificing their love for knowledge for the sake of duty towards state. Philosopher king is the symbol of knowledge and sacrifice, and according to Plato, those states are better governed where rulers are reluctant to govern rather than eager to govern, as philosopher will be man of reason having true knowledge, and their real love is knowledge and not money and power. So philosopher king will be the best ruler, as he will have the best knowledge of his responsibilities.